Support for this podcast comes from the patrons at patreon.com/FMLFPL. Okay! Welcome to FMLFPL 1.
This Walsh.
It's Monday night, late night.
Yep, Monday, August 1st, the last Monday of the rest of our lives.
Yeah, the last Monday before it's all downhill. Yeah, the hope
dies.
It feels weird, man.
Yeah, we've been at this long enough where we know what this week is going to be like, and it's not going to be fun for us.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's very air quotes funny.
Yeah,
but in IRL vibes is just torture.
It's fun, like a fucking former
Going to the
alcoholic
dentist is fun.
Binging for one weekend, just one more trip around the sun.
Yeah, I know.
It's fun, and then you're just back in the fucking hellstorm.
Yep.
So we got today's pod. We're going again on Wednesday. Today's pod will basically be like questions and all that shit from Discord. Wednesday pod is going to be the Walsh and me annihilation pod, where we just talk about our teams and figure out our game week 1 things. And then, Friday.
Back on the normal regular schedule.
Yeah, back to regular Friday.
Then we'll be
deadline.
doing our Monday. Yeah, and the Wednesday one we're going to put out on the normal feed. And then, moving forward, we'll have our Monday like normal. And then Thursday will be the My Life pods for the patrons. So
yep.
That's what's up.
Good time to sign up. Get in there. Yeah, the Mug League is up. So make sure if you're a patron, scroll back in the posts a little bit. You'll see how to sign up and get in there. And then we'll take it from there. So. Okay. Oh, brother. Yeah.
So where are we starting?
I'm ready for a massive pod, but I think we got to start with the Community Shield because...
Oh, my God. Most important friendly in the world.
Exactly. Well, at least the most important friendly of the friendlies. It's at least
the friendliest.
It's the friendliest of all the friendlies, but it's also the 2 best teams in the league. And so...
Friendliest shield.
We have to figure out...
what they should call it.
Yeah, the most agreeable shield. And I think there's a lot to talk about with both teams. So, just starting with the City defense, we got some questions there. Balsy said, "What effect does the Laporte injury have on Ederson? Is going 2 at the back now for City too much?" Terp said, "Does the situation with Laporte give us cheap options at City defense, or the likes of Ake and Walker's traps to be avoided?" Cam Parkins asking about Walker. X50 said, "In the Community Shield game, Cancelo seemed kind of shackled at left back compared to the bombastic performances we saw him on the right last season. It make sense to start with Robbo over Cancelo, assuming you have Trent and you can't afford all 3. I mean, let's just talk about the defense broadly. Like, where are you at on them as of now?"
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but the overreaction of these questions is astonishing to me. Just the tone that they're hitting.
I know, it's like if City's first 6 fixtures were all Liverpool,
I know,
we wouldn't have their defenders.
3 of them. We wouldn't have 3 of them. I think the Laporte injury is obviously not great. They don't have much cover, but I still feel like it doesn't affect the way I view the team defense enough where I'm not going to pick them. And I still think Ake can do a job. I mean, they keep cleans because of the system, not because the individual defenders are like god tier. I mean, Laporte and Diaz, for better or for worse, I mean, they fall down and make mistakes, not often, but they do it. I mean, they play the high. And I feel like, you put Ake in there, you put Stony Boy in there for Laporte, and it's still more or less the same machine with, close enough to the same parts. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a downgrade, I think.
Sure.
That's
definitely
very safe to say.
Downgrade, yes.
Yeah, but like you have to sort of like expand what that means. When you look at the first 6 fixtures, I look at something like at West Ham just got a little bit harder, right? Like that's a tougher game. Bowen is going to do whatever he wants to Cancelo, as we saw. Cancelo can't defend, and not having Laporte as a left center back, really bad. But then when you still look at home Bournemouth, at Newcastle, home Palace, home NFO, at Villa, it's still just like, I still just expect complete and utter domination in those games. You know, it'd be almost like a freak accident if the opposing team's like 2 shots in those games, one of them goes in.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still very high on them. I'm happy to hear you're high on them too. Is Walker still in your team?
No, I put Ederson in. I don't have Walker anymore. I put Robertson in for Diaz.
Yeah.
Because he's playing like more forward than Diaz, sort of. And he's like flying around and...
Oh, for Luis Diaz. I thought you meant for Ruben Diaz. Yeah, my bad.
No, for Luis Diaz, for my third Liverpool player. I just felt like, you know, they don't play that much. He's not run into the ground yet. You know, these could be the best performances of the season for Robbo. So I felt like maybe that's a little thing to try and take advantage of early doors while, you know, Diaz kind of settles in. And, you know, he definitely doesn't have that clinicality, cutting edge. You know, he does all the things beautifully when you watch him, but FPL points, you know, he kind of, it seems like needs more to has to run into them rather than like, oh yeah, he's just so good, you know? And he could take that step forward. But right now, I mean, Robbo is a much more known quantity. So I did that. A long way of answering your question to no, I don't have Walker, but I still think Walker is just as good as, you know, I don't view him in a different way. You know, he's just not a really attacking 5 million on the best defense in the league. You know, you stack him up against Doc and Trips and, you know, some of the other 5 millions, you know, Zinchenko I'm seeing more popular too. You know, he's a good pick and a bad pick for, you know, different reasons.
Yeah. I still like the pick a lot.
Yeah, I still think he's fine.
Yeah, he's still a really good pick. And when you just, again, like it's what we talked about whenever we talked about him. I guess it was the mid-price pod. It's just like, we're not getting him for the season. Once Champions League starts, etc., we don't want him. We know that we don't want him. But early doors, like he starts 5 out of the first 6 or something like that. Like, that's just really good. Yeah, it's just really good. But let's jump to the third Liverpool player because we got questions on that too. I think people seeing what you're seeing, but Cutler said, have we seen anything that changes our feelings of the third best Liverpool player? Ethical said, I love Diaz, but on Saturday he looked more like last year, making breaks and causing chaos. Not yet Mane getting in the scoring position while Nunez was in on everything for 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Does that just make Robbo the pick? Tio, have your views on VVD versus Robbo changed since the premium pod, or is Robbo clearly worth the extra 0.5? Are you concerned about Simicas? And maybe after that we need to talk about Darwin. But yeah, I mean, I actually did the same thing as you. I mean, I think one of the also stunning things to me between Robbo and Diaz, because we've always said that it's close, it's just Diaz has that like ceiling potential, that sexualness, but like the ownership is just like offensive to me. Like the fact that Diaz is 24% owned and Robbo's only 11% owned, I'm just like, Robbo is like just such a fucking sure thing. Liverpool looked great, he looked great, he's in the box getting assists, like fucking hell, it just made me want to be like, fuck you. Like you're not owning Robbo, and that's dumb.
Yeah. I mean, and to me it came down more to the combination of like I put Robbo and Martinelli in for Diaz and like Walker, and I was like, this seems like just better. Yeah. Getting the Robbo pairing to me. And looking at how many like interesting, good, you know, 6'5" to 5 million midfielders there are, like, you know, I was like, you know, Robbo's good. And yeah, like you mentioned, you know, in the box, doing the things, and, you know, like I previously said, you know, early on when he's really lively and making extra runs up and down, yeah, he's just a great pick. I mean, they're both great picks. You know, it just comes down to, I think, that combination and what you feel more comfortable with. But, you know, you're not going to really go too wrong with either. And, you know, that's the beginning and end of it, I think.
The thing with Diaz is that, like, it's what I said to LR, right? It's like, I don't really think he's a 15-goal guy. Like, that's just not his game, where he shoots from, how he plays. He's not Mane. He's definitely not Mane. But I think one thing that, like, maybe the Community Shield brought out a little bit, and again, it's Man City. It's the hardest game of the season. Like, it's not, we're reading too much into it, but it's all we have. But, like, when back in the day when it was Mo, Mane, Bob in the prime of those three, like, I could see Diaz being the Bob this season. Like a 9-9, a 10-10. Like, he's not, especially if it's Jota / Darwin playing most of the 9 minutes, which is what I expect. I think the majority of the goal scoring, it's obviously Mo is still the main man, but I think the majority of the goal scoring will fall on the 9 more so than it'll fall on Diaz. Diaz doing a lot more of the build up, the creativity, the link up and stuff like that, like Bob did. It's just coming from a different position, different like angle.
Yeah, that's possible. And if he does do that, then he shits on an $8 million price tag. I think the main difference is going to be like, does he get those 4 or 5, like in air quote, like free goals, like where he has that pouncer, like some little tap in, some like ball bounces his way the right way? Because I mean, if he does get those few handful, just by the sheer volume of amount of time the ball's in the enemy box and shots are being taken by Liverpool and the flat track bullying that happens, you know, I mean, he could still hit 15 to me, but we still don't really, you know, we don't know that much of it. But even still, it's the same thing that we've been talking about. I mean, his floor is high, his ceiling's high, like 8 million, still good pick.
He's still a good pick. Absolutely.
Still a good pick,
no matter which way you cut it. Yeah, and I'm currently on Allison, Trent, Mo, so I've been just all over the place with Tinkers, but like the thing with Liverpool is just they just have so many good picks. Like I was even looking at Matip, right? Like season long, definitely don't want him. Kanate has a knock first 5, 6, 7 games before Champions League, whatever. Like Matip should start every game, you know, maybe misses 1, you know, that would be like the max. And we've seen when he starts, he's a fucking god in FPL. He's a bonus machine. He's second to Trent on bones every game. He started 31 games last year. He got 20 bonus points and 6 attacking returns. He's better than VVD in FPL. So, you know, it's something worth considering. I think the bottom line is everyone should have 3. It's just which 3, and that's what makes it hard. But
well, it's which one. I mean,
it's sort of which one, but after Mo Trent. But yeah, Darwin questions also. Sides and Vax said, lads, what's your Darwin in threshold? What do you need to see from him to bring him in? And John said, is anyone going big at the front? Darwin instead of Diaz with no 8 million mid, maybe only a sub in game week 1, but he looks more likely to get FPL points when he plays. I mean,
I'm like, couldn't imagine a player in the game that I'm further away from wanting.
Really, that far?
Yeah. I mean, I just, for him to, at his price, like be a better pick than Luis Diaz, Robbo, VVD, I don't know. I mean, he would have to score like 6 goals in the first 3 games for me to be like, okay, I'll do Robbo to Darwin or something. Anything really short of that, like him screaming neon letters, like vibrating, pulsating, and blinking, giving me a seizure, I just don't see it for his price. You know, that's it. That's kind of how I'm viewing it.
Yeah, I mean, the only way he earns his price is if he puts up Mane numbers, right? We need upper teens goals, and it's possible, but he might just start
not play that much,
40% of the games in the first month, and then we're like, what are you doing with a 9 million pick in your team? Like, obviously, he looked incredible, and like he was just getting on the end of everything. His underlyings were great. He'd eye test everything, but I mean, we just have no idea how he's going to be handled. So and Liverpool just have so many guys, even with the Jota injury, they just have so many options. So don't like it.
No.
More back to City. Just, you know, everyone's still looking at their mids. You've all said, is the jacketing over after that performance? I personally switched him to Perisic and upgraded my keeper. Chester said Foden, Mahrez, or Jack. And Barak said, does 5 subs make City options such as Mahrez, Foden, Jack better or worse? I currently have Jack, thinking he'll either start or come off the bench a lot for 20 to 30 minute cameos, given the extra subs. Just knowing how City play, that's enough time for a return or 2. Does this make any sense, or am I just jacking myself into the jacketing? We're all
someone's
there.
jacking.
Yeah, we're all there.
Yeah. What do you see here?
I'm just nowhere near any of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just going to be a complete fuckfest of rotation and, you know, obscured minutes. It doesn't seem like fun. I mean, I don't want to be like sweating this team sheet every single week. And I mean, honestly, with Haaland too, he's not like he's not like Kev. You know what I mean?
No.
And that's scary, you know?
Yeah, I mean, is he starting at West Ham?
I don't know. He should, but he might not.
I could easily see him not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Jack was pretty bad. You know, he made 1 forward pass all game and it was incomplete. I mean, Foden came on and balled out, as he often does.
Yeah. He usually does play very well against Liverpool.
Always plays well against Liverpool. Always plays well, I feel like, when he subs on. Like, I always feel like his impact from the bench is really good. Does that factor in? I don't know. Obviously, Mahrez is just the trap that keeps giving. I mean, it's like literally been a trap for 5 straight seasons and continues to be a trap. So, I don't know. There's just nothing that these guys can do. The only option of me getting one of them, I think, was like a really standout performance in the Community Shield from a starter, and we didn't get that. So I'm just nowhere near.
Yeah, there's just a lot of question marks.
Yeah, and then the last Community Shield questions, Harley Boys D Silva, lesson learned about City. I mean, we talked about it. And then Ioner said, does the Haaland performance against Liverpool finally put him in the wait and see bin?
What does that mean? So he got all these chances?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
wait and see him explode this year in fantasy and in the real life. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
he missed a tap-in.
He only had 2 shots, but he had over 1 XG because one of them was aforementioned tap-in. He was all over the place in the box. He couldn't have done much more to be like, yeah, he's going to score so many goals this season. The issue really is he going to start game week 1? I have Kane instead of him for game week 1.
Are you thinking of doing that switch still?
I just have Kane. I'm like pretty settled on that, like for game week 1. But then
and you're thinking of doing the switch after game week 1 to Bournemouth?
Yeah. I mean, Kane is at Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's an easy one home. Bournemouth, it's still a risk. Like, if there's so many different scenarios, but if Haaland scores a goal on Sunday, the City plays on Sunday, I have to do Kane to Haaland on Sunday night because the price change would just fuck me. Yeah. And then the other way is like Haaland might just not start or play 30 minutes or look bad or something, and then I'm just nervous that he's even going to start against Bournemouth.
And then you keep Kane, and then it's the whole thing.
Yeah, and then that move becomes complicated too. But I think I'll just make the move. I mean, I agree with Neil on the Anfield wrap. Like, it seems like Haaland is just going to absolutely fucking destroy bad teams.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing they can do to stop him. He's just too fast, too big, like, just too many good passers getting him the ball. It's just like, so, it is what it is. Yeah. But that's...
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on Haaland. I haven't switched it. I've somewhat passively been engaging with the thought of starting with Kane instead of him and making the quick switch.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that's smart for me personally to do because I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like I want to kind of just stick with that initial, kind of read of Haaland, but we'll see. Because, Southampton home is nice. Obviously.
Yeah, the thing that I said on the above average pod was that, because they were pulling up a thing that was teams most likely to score 2.5 plus, gambling odds. And City were ahead of Spurs. And I was like, yes, but that doesn't show the range of the possibilities, right? Because Spurs could just throw in a clunker and just be horrible. We've seen them do that under Conte and just barely get a shot or anything. But they could also score 5. But City, on the other hand, at West Ham, it's West Ham barely ever get battered, so 2 to 3 is very likely, but more than that is not so likely. So it's one of those things where I'm just shooting for the hat trick, which I think is on the table.
Yeah, it's reasonable. It just depends on how you want to approach it. The game week 1.
Yeah.
Because it's bigger question when you look at, game week 1 to 5 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And you look at Haaland as still 50% owned in the game,
Yeah, and I mean, City, they have the really bad game week 1 fixture. Even for them, it's a tough one. And then it's home Bournemouth at Newcastle, home Palace, home NFO. Yeah. It's just you got to get him. Yeah. If he starts any of those, who knows what he's capable of. So
yeah. I mean, he's had games at Dortmund where he did 4 goals, 1 assist. He's got that.
Yeah, and he's done it off the bench too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could just come on in the second half of one of those games and still score a hat trick. So that's the thing. That's the level that we're talking about here. Yeah. Let's just maybe go to Spurs. Speaking of Kane.
Sure.
I got 4 questions here. Rory said, who's the best premium to accompany Mo? Why is it Harry Kane? Turpis said, what are your thoughts about Son and Kane versus Kevin Holland? City score more goals, but with the Spurs guys, you can be more sure of goal involvement. If your answer to this question is Mo Salah, that's not the answer I'm looking for, because Turp is just a fucking pervert. Dewitt said, you weren't too keen on Kulu on the pod, but does he not seem like a good route into Spud's attack, if not going for Kane and Son? And Jerry said, you were so hot in Lloris and the premium asset spot, especially compared to Alisson Ederson. Fantastic first few fixtures too. Why aren't you so keen now? So, I mean,
I've been back and forth with Lloris. Lloris has been in my team a lot. I mean, it's basically, I've been between him and Ederson, for a little while now. I still think he's a really good pick, but in terms of, it's just a hard thing. I think to me, looking at the attack versus City, just the fixtures, it isn't made easy because the fixtures are both like really good.
Yeah.
And in that context, I still think City are like way better.
Yeah.
So it just diminishes the Spurs assets, Son and Kane, that much more for me. So I would pick like Holland and Kev over Son and Kane like all the time.
Me too.
Right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to what I was just saying about the like range of possibilities, right? Like,
right.
Spurs can get blanked by Brighton and Burnley, and they had some other bad games at the end of last season. Like, that just doesn't really happen to City. So City is like basically minimum 2 goals a game, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Spurs don't have that. No team except Liverpool has that. So that's what it is. But what about Kulu? Have you warmed up to him at all? Are you looking at him at all? I mean, the minutes are a problem.
Yeah, no, I haven't still considered him at all. I just think he's far down on that 8 million pecking order. Like, I'd rather have Mount, Luis Diaz, probably would rather have Saka. I mean, there's just a lot of 8 million picks that I would rather have than him.
I'm kind of with you there. It feels so weird to sit here and be like, we both kind of think they're the 3rd best team in the league, and they have a really good attack and really good manager, and like might go in with just Kane, who's an immediate transfer out in my team.
Yeah, well, I still have Perisic, but
where are you at on him? Because like, wasn't it just kind of like bad news about him? Wasn't it kind of just like he's not really fit yet?
I think he's still got some good opportunities. He almost scored a goal.
Yeah.
I think Conte, like, speaking English as his second language, taking something out of context to be like, he's not the Perisic. I know it's like, well, yeah, he's not like it's not the middle of the season, but he's still just like played 75 minutes, was like good, almost scored. I'm like, whatever. I just believe so much in the quality of the player that, he's going to start most games, play 30 minutes in the games he doesn't start, could still score a goal.
Yeah.
And just get a lot of points. So I'm not like really hyper focused or like super concentrated on like, is he going to start this game? Is he not going to start that game? Like, which game is he? And I might
just
bench
running
him
out there.
Yeah. I might bench him. Like if I do start with him, which I probably will, I might bench him at Chelsea. Maybe I'll just throw like, okay, start at Southampton, subbed early, like bad fixture at Chelsea. I'll just play like Pereira or something. I probably won't do that, but I just think with him, the goal threat is so huge that, he's just still a great pick. And I'm just not really worrying right now too much about like the minutes problem, and that could be totally wrong because I know like minutes are the best predictor of points. Like, I get it. I got it, guys. But like Perisic, a defender, he's not even that expensive. He's like fucking 5'5". So, it's like, I just still think he's a really good pick,
It's almost like, it almost reminds me just hearing you talk about it, like of the Jota season when he's like 6'5", the first Liverpool season, right? And it was like minutes, but it was like just start him because he can come off the bench and score, and when he starts, he could score, but then also the clean sheet points. So it's even more so.
It's similar. It's also different, I think, because that was bigger question of like Jota's not in their best 11, but we know Perisic is in the best 11.
Yeah.
So that's more of just like him getting up to speed and like whatever that means for him fitness wise. But I just think he's just amazing, and I fucking love him, and I always have loved him, and I will continue to love him, and I want to love him in my team.
Yeah, his ownership has dropped a ton. I don't remember exactly where it was, but he's at 29 now. I feel like it was in the 40s.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I think also Doc good pick. Like $5 million.
I know. Doc
he clearly
is a fucking
like
thing. Like
he's clearly like his like favored choice there.
He's by far the best. Yeah,
he's by far the best. And I mean at 5, he is like, you know, a much worse version of Perisic. Like kind of comparing the two of them at like the wing back from like an FPL standpoint. I think like if you put Perisic in the same minutes and spots as Doc, like he'll double his triple the output sort of.
Yeah, I agree.
But Doc is still like. Sure, he's going to use subs on wing backs all the time. I get he did it or got it, like understood. But Doc is still like at $5 million has huge explosive haul outputs, and there just aren't that many picks in the game like that at defense.
I know it makes me want to like it almost makes me want to just get like fucking both of them and just be like any time they start, I have like the best asset in the game. And anytime they don't start, okay, hopefully they sub on and get points, or I just have a backup coming to get points.
No,
okay.
I've played with that. I've looked at that definitely because I think you definitely get that boom or bust kind of thing. But
it's just so hard to.
It's risky.
It's risky, but it's also so hard when like I think. Well, I don't know if you're on Reese, but I'm on Reese, Trent Cancelo.
Yeah, I still have Reese.
And it's just fucking hard. You just run out of space. There's so many good defenders in the game, and I want so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's naturally move to Chelsea. I guess these segues are just unbelievable. DeWitt said Chelsea have looked pretty solid in preseason. Have your opinions on their assets changed? Particular James, Raz, Mount, even Kai. Does Raz feel worth the $2 million over Mount? Callum said Mason Mount, arguably the most established, proven $8 million mid. He has decent fixtures, but it feels like he's in no teams. Is he being overlooked and actually a great pick, or is Tommy T rotation and Chelsea preseason good enough reason to not have him? And Catfing said, are you at all Raz curious, or is Mount just better value, just waiting and seeing on Chelsea attack? So we're both on Reese. I feel like we don't need to say that much about him. He's just a great pick. Get over it if you don't like him. He's fucking nailed. He's playing wing back. Great pick. What about the attack?
Before going to the attack, I still am like thinking about Mendy because he does still seem like extremely obvious. Like, because at $5 million, I mean, the 0.5 is a fucking huge difference. I mean, when you're looking at this goalkeeping spot, and you know, I know we talked about him on the other pod, like doesn't make as many saves, like doesn't get any bonus points, but you know, you're still looking at this $5 million goalkeeper nailed on into the Chelsea defense when they play 3 fucking center backs. Like, it's still a really good pick, you know, and I'm not like 100% sure I'm not going to start with him. I know the fixtures aren't as good initially, but I mean, he's the obvious pick. There's a reason why he's the most owned player. He's the most obvious pick. Yeah, I mean, so I just want to. It's not like trendy, but you know.
This time of the season, it's like shaving 0.5 is just like that's what we do here. Like I feel like that, you know, as it gets closer to game week 1, we just convince ourselves like I can drop 0.5 here to get this guy or whatever. So I could totally see that. I think it's a very valid point.
But then, Reese, I mean, we've both been on Reese, I think, for a while. Well, you're newer, but I've had Reese in my team for a really long time. I haven't really fucked with it. It's still just like, he's just a good pick. And the attack, I mean, what do you think? I mean, the transfer, first of all, the transfer shit around this team this last month is like a fucking insane shit.
They just have a billionaire American just going full like Wild West out there.
I mean, they almost have bought like 9 players. It's so
and now
insane.
They're swooping in for Cucurella.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? But
it seems like he just has Fabrizio on like Twitter notifications, and he sees like Cuckoo, and he's like, "Oh, we should get Cuckoo." He's like, "That's a good fucking idea."
City want them? Oh, we can get them.
That said, I've very confidently, heavily talked myself into Mount. Yeah, he's the 8 million I feel best about right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they have some good, easy fixtures. Granted, they're away, but I like the pick. I mean, I think it's him, Saka, and Maddo. Yeah. You know, are probably the ones where, you know, if you guess right, that's going to be a big deal. Because you could be looking at like 25-something points in the first few games. And Maddo, I mean, Mount looks good. You know, Everton and Leeds, 2 of the first 3 are good fixtures to have. And he's playing in the front 3 now with Raz and Havertz, which is, you know, what we would want to see. Yep. The interchange, the movement's going to be hard for any team to deal with. And he's a flat track bully as he's shown. So it's some set pieces. He's a good pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Great pick. That's for all of the reasons above. That's why I'm on him. Looking good, playing the front three. I even went as far to like look back at some of his past goals to be like, on the left, does he score? He scores goals from the left all the fucking time.
He cuts
all
in,
the time.
Yeah. And you like him.
And I've always liked him. I was on him for long stretches last season. He took the fucking leap into like an elite attacker last season, statistically. And then the other thing that I just like found while I was talking myself into him is like, he's also just the number 2 pens guy. And Jorginho plays 2,000 minutes every season.
Well,
so he's probably going to pepper in some pens too.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because he took one last year. They took some.
And Raz wins a lot of pens.
Raz loves to win pens. Going down, favorite thing to do. But yeah, Rom took one, Mount took one, and Jorginho took the rest last season. But Jorginho, again, like he plays, 30 to 40% of the season, Jorginho won't be on the pitch. So, Mount could get some pens too. And I'm just like, I just love it. I love the attacking fixtures. I was early like talking myself into Raz just because of, I honestly do believe he's still great and going to score 20 goals. But
10,
like for
10 millions.
Yeah, 2 million less getting Mount, who I don't think that like 11 and 10 where he was last season was like fluky. It's just too much value. Like 2 million is just too much. He's not going to outscore Mount by fucking 50, 60 points.
Yeah, and you're not captaining him. And
I'm not captaining the player. Yeah. So it's just like, that's just too much. And I just love the pick. I love the fixtures. Okay. Love the pick.
Wow. So tell me about why him over Saka.
Really like Saka too. Saka on pens. Love that. 4 or 5 free goals. Huge for Arsenal. I think I just, I'm on Jesus Martinelli. I felt a little weird going triple, which we'll get to because some people were asking about the triple.
You have Martinelli?
As of now, I'm on Jesus Martinelli.
Okay.
And then low key, I mean, I know overall their fixtures are good, but at Palace is a really bad fixture. Home Leicester might be a moderately bad fixture. We don't really know yet. And so I'm just like, do I want to triple this attack? Like, that just seems like I'm putting so many eggs into the probably 5th best team in the league. I'm like, am I there yet? Am I that? Are they Liverpool? Are they City? Like, no, they're definitely not. So, I just like spreading it around a little bit there. Okay. I still feel like Chelsea attack's really good and better with Raz than it was last season.
Chelsea's still better. Chelsea's still a better team than Arsenal.
Better team than Arsenal until proven otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that all makes sense to me. I like all of that. Yeah, I mean, Martinelli is, I put him in recently with Robbo. It's like, I'm still like, very unsure about that pick just from the game week 1 standpoint because I think those first 2 fixtures are bad. Yeah. Like I think Home Leicester is bad too.
Like it might be with okay. And like their Home Leicester, but probably
I just don't think it's good. I just don't think it's good. I mean, with Leicester in the shape that they're in right now, I think Leicester's going to be back to just a bad fixture. It's just a bad fixture. And at Palace, granted, it's the first day of the season. We've had a very disjointed preseason with half the team abroad, half the team at home, and shit like that. Yeah. So that might play into Arsenal's favor because they have had a pretty consistent and pretty settled preseason. So maybe at Palace, game week 1 isn't that bad. But I don't know. Yeah, Martinelli's I'm just a little with so much soup around there where I'm just like, a little 2-week punt here, a little nice 2 fixtures here, nice 2 fixtures there, like go a little this, a little that. So that's a tough one. That's going to be coming to the deadline for me for sure.
And the thing again with Saka, it's just like, it's worth reminding ourselves that pens are a huge fucking deal in fantasy. Yeah. He only scored 2 pens last season, but on our, the last 2 seasons, Arsenal have gotten 6 and 8. That's a lot of fucking free points going Saka's way.
It's like 20, 35 point range.
So I do still think Saka's a great pick. It's just, I think the fact, again, it's like Mount over Raz. It's like I'm going Martinelli for 2 million cheaper. I think the gap is not that wide. But let's go to Arsenal. I mean, Parkus said Arsenal 6-0 Sevilla last night, 4-0 up after 19 minutes. Jesus Hattie, is it time to triple up on Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and put our life savings on the Ars to finish top 4? Al said, is Saka worth the 2
mil? I
mil?
wonder if that guy's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, exactly. Al said, is Saka worth the 2 mil over Martinelli? Bolter said, what are your thoughts on tripling up on Arsenal's attack? And then Sonnet, everyone's Sonnet, same thing. Saka, Martin, Jesus too much. So everyone's looking at the triple. I mean, what do you think about the triple? Martinelli's
just, I can't figure it out because, I've been obsessed with him for so long. I mean, I owned him 2 years ago.
Yeah. You're a Martinelli hipster. I think that's fair to say.
But now that he's like in all these teams, I'm like doing the thing where I'm like, oh, like what? Fuck him. Like,
is he
whatever.
Bad?
No, seriously.
I know.
Sick. It's like fucking sick.
It's what we talked about with the Holland, right? It's like if we didn't know that he was that high owned, we'd both have him.
Martinelli just feels kind of obvious though, like at that price point.
Yep.
Young, trending up with Jesus, like settled, Brazilian, all the things. Like he just should be better. And he was already like pretty good last year, like 6 and 7 in 1,800 minutes. If he just takes even just a little step forward from that, granted he could like blow that out of the water. I still believe in him. I think he was just not fit. Like the recency bias of him like finishing really badly. It's just like he was like so bad that I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
And he's been looking pretty good, right? I mean, preseason has been doing the things. He's been getting assists and shit, and he's coming in central. He's doing the thing out wide, and at 6 million, I feel like Martinelli is a good pick. Just the positions he's taking up. There isn't like a similar pick like on Chelsea or Spurs. And this is
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and he's also starting with the ones every game. Every game with the ones. Every game that Saka and Jesus are playing, he's playing. That's huge. Because 2 weeks ago I was like, is he nailed? They're going to place him 2 up top, ESR, Vieira. Yeah. He seems to be not nailed, but he seems to be first choice pretty clearly. But do you think that a triple up is too much? And
No, this is the same thing. I don't like the way that people, I think, look at this as like too many eggs in one basket. It's like, what do you like? Do you like Martinelli more than Rashford? Do you like Martinelli more than Neto? Like it doesn't matter if you have 1, 2, or 3 of these players in your team. They're going to do whatever they do. Like if you like Saka more than Mount, then get Saka. If you like Martinelli more than Rashford, get Martinelli. Right? Like if you like Jesus more than...
I see what you're saying, but I do think there's something to just diversifying in this game week 1 period where, like, again, keep reminding ourselves we don't know anything, right? So I'm like, I think I do, but Arsenal could be flat for the first 5 game weeks, and then if you're tripled up, you're fucked. But Chelsea could just bang them in, and. But
then, I think you have to use that in the context of every single individual of those 3 players that you're comparing. And it's like, yes, fine, but does that mean that I like Rashford more than Martinelli? Like, okay, yeah, I do. Does that mean I like Matto more than Saka? Like, no, I still like Saka more, knowing that risk. Like, if you're doing it that way, then like. I don't think it's a problem to have all 3 of them. If you look at them and you think that, no, I think they're going to be fine. The Leicester fixture, the Palace fixture.
I don't
and then
disagree.
They have 2 promoted sides,
I guess what I'm saying regarding diversifying is that, like, if you think it's close between 2 of the 8 millions, maybe you should go with the non-Arsenal one.
Well, I don't know, like, if that has anything? I don't know if that's right or wrong. Like, if that's just you wanting to hedge your emotions because if it is bad, it's really bad. Versus like that shouldn't be considered at all. Like I feel closer to like that shouldn't be considered at all, and that's like a myth that we want to sell ourselves because we can hold on to more hope that way.
I guess we just differ on this. I mean, I don't have it like fully fleshed out, but in my head, I'm just thinking like early season, I want to diversify as much as possible. I don't know which attacks are going to look good. I don't know what players are going to look good. I don't know how teams are going to start. When we wild card, let's just say like game week 25, we do our second wild card. We don't ever think about this stuff ever. Because I'm just like, I can triple this team. I'm very confident. I know what these teams are. But right now, I'm just, I don't know. Yeah. I like all of the individuals, but I'd rather diversify is all I'm saying. But I hear what you're saying. And I also don't know which one is right. Yeah,
we hear each other. We don't necessarily agree or disagree. And we also don't know.
I feel seen in this moment.
Yeah, we're seeing each other. I see you, Ecuador.
I see. Ecuador. Let's maybe jump to a couple questions on the 8 million mids that everyone's talking about. Rory said, can we get some more broad strokes on the 8 million mids? Now we have more info closer to deadline. Saka on pens, Jota injury, Foden community shield cameo. How do you see these factors impacting the rankings of these guys? And Jabroni Spud said, all right, now the preseason games are wrapping up. What's your definitive 8 million mid rankings? Everyone's fucking obsessed with this slot.
Yeah, and it's funny because there aren't even that many players. It's like 5 guys.
They're just like... I mean, the FPL game, again, did a great job.
They did a good job because these are the perverted picks of like, which one of these is going to be like 10 million next year?
Yeah, exactly. And they're all nailed and they're all like cool and young. you know?
Fun. Want to hang out. You want them to come to the pool party that you're hosting.
Exactly. So, yeah,
Mount,
I mean,
clearly number 1 over there.
I made my case for Mount, but if,
definitive. It's definitive.
I have, it's definitive.
Well, the question wanted a definitive.
It's probably Diaz, number 1. I just don't have him because there's other good Liverpool picks. If I could have 4 Liverpool players, I'd probably have Diaz over Mount. Is basically what I'm saying.
That's the toughest thing.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I think it's him and Mount probably. I mean, Matto, it's just having Arsenal and Chelsea, those first two of the first 4 is a tough one for Matto. And Saka's good still,
Also, there's just like a bad vibe right now with Leicester. Like Newcastle's trying to buy Matto. They've bought
Chelsea's trying to push Fofana.
Literally no one.
They bought no one. The only team in the continent that hasn't bought anyone.
Only team, it just seems sketch. But yeah, I think Saka's up there with those guys. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
Like you just look at 11 and 9 last season. He ended the season hurt, getting subbed, whatever. Let's just say he gets 4 more goals just from pens alone. Like that's a huge output. That's 200 points.
Yeah. This is a mess. Like this is going to make or break. Like this is going to be so much heartache for us. Like we're going to own all of these guys at some point. Yes. We're going to miss hauls. We're going to buy guys late and get blanks. We're going to get hauls. Like
it's a fact.
It's going to be very, very frustrating. I can foresee
it's that
a fucking
already. Fact. Yeah. I mean, if we were, again, it's like the difference between an actual Game Week 1 team and a theoretical like zombie team. Yeah. Like in a set and forget team, I'd probably have Saka and Mount and Diaz. Because I'm just like, these guys are all really good. I think they're all like, their total points will see them as being like underpriced. I just, in your real team with captains and whatnot, in transfers, it's just not that easy.
Yeah. Yep. Good. I mean, and the other thing too about the 8 bracket is like, there are a lot of good other midfield, like 7-7-5. Like Wilf is there, Barnes is there, like Jack. I don't know, like Sancho,
Coutinho,
Rashford. Phil. Like there are still a lot of guys
GW1
there that you can, again, back into who have maybe tougher opening fixture runs that you could back into out of one of the 8 million guys if you want to redistribute funds and shit. So, knowing that too is like makes it feel more comfortable, investing in this price bracket too. I think.
Yep, absolutely. We got some questions about just like the uniqueness of the season and the 5 subs and stuff. So
do you know what? Can I take over with a couple questions?
Please.
A couple. I think preseason. Like we haven't really talked about like what have we noticed from preseason or like things to look out for. I mean, I think we should spend a few minutes on that because there are some big pieces of information. I think
talk to me because I'm behind the curve. I just was on vacation. I was busy all day today. So what are you seeing?
Well, Brentford seem really committed to the 4-3-3, and I think Wissa is a legitimate pick. I mean, they're talking about Damsgaard might be coming in, and they have Keane Lewis Potter, but Wissa at 5-5 should not be forgotten. I think just put that one out there.
Yeah,
and then Southampton
they have good fixtures, right?
They have really good fixtures.
Yeah,
really good fixtures. And Bumo's been, also at 6 million forward. I mean, he's still like doing well.
He has 4 goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like been doing well in the preseason shit. So, I mean, Brentford, it's a really difficult team to pick apart. But Southampton also are like playing 3 at the back, so they're going to have cheap out of position attacking options. Like, I know their fixtures are bad initially, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but it also does potentially free up JWP not to play so deep. So if he does stick with 3 at the back all season, which I don't know personnel wise, they like don't have any center backs. I don't know.
I mean, he could also get sacked after the first month, so we'll see. But yeah,
absolutely could do. But for the opening fixtures are just insanely bad for Southampton. But that's another thing I think to just keep in mind, like which the new guy from Rangers they got, like who's playing up top. I mean, it could just be Che or whatever, and where they're not really good picks, but that's something that's caught my eye for sure. And then with Wolves, right? I mean, losing Jim is not small. Like, it's a really, really big deal. I think looking at their front three is going to be with Podence instead of Jim. Like, it might be better. I could imagine that maybe, imagining just like ball to feet more, changing styles, and just that might just play better to the strengths of like the rest of the players playing with 4 at the back now, not needing maybe a target man to come deep and link up play, and then you're kind of like not having an odd man rush going forward. But I don't know. I mean, I still think Neto's a really good pick. It might be worse. I mean, it might just they might just not function because they have like 3 little tiny guys up top, and they're playing 3 midfield. One like Moutinho can't move. It puts a lot of onus on Neves, and it seems like he keeps playing Dendoncker. I don't know. I mean, that could be an issue also, but just also something I'm like, it hasn't put me off Neto. Yeah, but. It's just something to note, because that might just be like, okay, maybe Neto scores 1 in the first 2, but if the performances don't look that good, knowing Jim's out for a while, is like, just get rid, like just cash in kind of thing.
I'm scared of Neto. I'm definitely scared of Neto. I mean, because it's like, it's easy to dream on, especially because we rate him individually.
Right.
But it's still the thing where it's like, he might also just be 1.5 shots a game, and they struggle to score 1 goal, even in the good fixtures.
Yeah.
They were really like a bottom 3 attack in the second half of last season in the entire league. So I'm still a little scared on Neto, even though, Leeds, Fulham are probably the best 2 fixtures you can have in the season as of what we know right now.
Yeah.
I'm still scared. I mean, I'm still just not that sure. For a long time, I've been four at the back with Nico and Neto in the team, and it's really, really easy to talk me into like turn Nico into Zinchenko and Neto into a 4-5 or any 5 million Walker or whatever, and just start them every week for a 5-6 game week period, and that's just better.
Yeah, I mean, but on the other side of the coin is, like we've been saying, like Neto could just be like a long-term just mockery of his price, like great pick. And I mean, I think you have to kind of theory craft a little bit when you look at Neto, and like the opening run is like, okay, at Leeds, home, Fulham are the first 2. And right, we're not sure without Jim. I mean, he's been banging them in preseason. Neto has like how they're going to look and how they're going to function. We know that they're going to be attacking more because they're not playing with the 3rd center back. And we don't know like how fluid and how fluent that's going to look. But at Leeds, home, Fulham, we're going to know like, okay, this is good or this is bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're going to know pretty quickly. And if it's good, we just like kind of shrug our shoulders at Tottenham. Maybe we bench him for that fixture. But then it's home Newcastle, which is, it's not a good fixture, but it's not horrible decent, probably. At Bournemouth, home Southampton. So, he could just be cruising up till that game week 6 point, and then we could reassess when they have Liverpool and City back to back, where it's like, oh God, okay, what am I doing here? And then Chelsea shortly after. And I just think, you can look at all these players, these fucking 5-5, right?
I know.
Like, so I feel like the upside there is worth it. It's still worth it to me because he's going to be playing out of position. He's going to be playing striker.
Absolutely, yeah. The other side of the coin is if it's bad, right? After 2 game weeks, we're like, okay, this is bad. They struggle to score 1 goal in either game. The thing that I was thinking about, and I wonder what you think about this, I was just kind of daydreaming about it today to distract myself. I was thinking it's actually more risky to bet on cheaper players versus more expensive players because they're just so much less flexible. And as well as, just aside from the normal traditional reasons, they're less nailed, not in Neto's case, less proven, worse teams, or all of the above, something like that, right? It's like, okay, so the opposite scenario of like, it's bad. So what happens?
Price drops to 5-3, and he has 4 points in 2 game weeks,
and we have to double move him out to probably anyone who's even viable because
or you get Bailey.
Yeah, and that's like also a big if. That just means that if Bailey starts both games and looks good, and then even still he's at Palace, home West Ham, and 3-4 before Nightmare. Right. So it's like you probably have to take a hit to get rid of Neto. Like that is also really bad. It's ringing my bell, reminding me what you said. I think in the postmortem, which was like in FPL we always like prepare for the best.
Yeah.
And in life, we're always prepared for the worst, and it's like that probably like shouldn't be that way,
Yeah.
So I'm scared. I am scared.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm the least amount scared that I normally would be for this spot because I still see so many like in and around 5-5 midfield options that like I would be happy to have. Like there's still like there's Eze, there's fucking the kid Aronson over on Leeds. I mean, they're just the Wissa I just mentioned, right? I mean, there's just still a lot of like 5-5 guys, and there is Bailey as like a backup. There's Gordon. I mean, there's just so many, and the price drops could be a big issue, right? Because he is so highly owned. Like, how quickly do people jump off him? Like, how
he could be
5-3
or 5-2 by game week 2. Like if he just gets a 1-pointer and one of these other guys scores a goal, like that's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a double or a triple drop in one game week. Yeah, it could happen. No, it could happen. It could happen. But you have to bet on someone.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that because I still do believe in the player, even though the situation of the team is sketchy, and he's playing out of position striker. I still like him more than the other picks. He's still in my team.
Yeah,
I still like him more
he's
than the
not
other
in my team right now. Which again, I keep saying this on every fucking pod I'm on, means nothing right now. It's Monday. Yeah. I'm gonna tinker like crazy, but I just look at like Neto's potential output in that first 5, 6, 7, whenever you think you might wild card, versus a 5 million defender who I really like. Like, let's just use Walker as an example. Like, I expect, 4-ish cleans. Is Neto going to score 4+ goals? Like, I doubt it. Like, even if it's
returns.
Going well, I doubt it.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's my problem with it. But I totally hear you. Like, again, he could just fly after the first 2, and then he's 5'8", 5'9", and everyone owns him, and it's just like it's such an obvious pick.
Well, that's also I've been 5 at the back the whole time I've been tinkering, so I haven't been having to deal with that calculus either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just talk more about these kind of like budget guys and stuff like that. Or are you done?
The other thing too, the Schmeich's being gone too. I mean, we might have a 4 million goalkeeper with Ward. I mean, they haven't put the other Alan. Their other goalkeeper's name Iverson.
Iverson
Alan
and Ward.
Iverson.
Yeah. Al's question
Iverson 824.
Is Ward a viable starting keeper option for us? Like, if there is a 4-0 starting keeper, is it just stupid to not go there?
It might be. Yeah.
Again, I think it's a weird season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. Like back to the Brewster thing is like. Just because he's starting at 4 million doesn't mean he's getting points. Like, he's not going to be getting that many points because he fucking is on Leicester or whatever, right?
And he's Danny Ward.
Yeah. So, first of all, we don't know. Iverson's probably going to come to the game at 4-5. So we don't know who's starting definitively. So that's not, clear by any means. But even so that's just for this exercise, assume that Ward is starting at 4-0. If you spend 8 million at the back, you're saving a good chunk there. You better be fucking hitting on where you're putting
have to hit on everything
because you're looking at like a 1 to 3 pointer like every game from Ward.
If you go Ederson to Ward, that 1.5 million has to be worth a lot of points.
Yeah,
like that starting spot on your team every week better be fucking flying, and it better be a nailed, really amazing pick because
and that's it's like to say it's Martinelli to Mount. Right? I mean, that's a big upgrade. That's a 2 million upgrade. It's a better player. But like, is that going to be more points than like Ederson to the Leicester keeper?
In my opinion, probably not.
Yeah, it might not be. I don't know. But it's not as clear cut as you would think.
Yeah, in a normal season, if there was a 4-0 nailed, and he's not nailed, but we're just talking hypothetically, I think it would be pretty dumb to not just get him. You just get him and you just hold him, and it's just so much value. It's same with like Nico. You just get him, you hold him. It's automatic. Always good in FPL. But in this weird season where we're all wild carding early, and then we have another wild card halfway, less than halfway through the season, it's just not as obvious because, like in Ederson and Allison, like they're probably just going to get 20 more points than this player before you wild card.
And that's the thing is, right? We'll know by game week 4 if like Ward's a good pick, and he's not going to be like 4-9, like he'll be like 4-2,
4-2,
goalkeeper, right? So you can also like, you don't have to start with the thing, like you can just back into it. Like you could also like, maybe that's a place you downgrade to free up funds to do your double swap early on or whatever. But it's definitely something to just keep an eye on because
for sure,
Ward
it's unheard of.
Yeah, it's unheard. I mean, we've never had it, I don't think, a 4-0 like game week 1 starter.
Foster?
No, because Bachman was starting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he was the backup at 4, and then he played
it's really rare. I can't really think of one either.
Yeah. But and the thing too about it is like, now is when our budgets are 100, like now is when the 4 million like matters the most, So it's like you do kind of want to like capitalize on it early so that you can spread it out around more than like late in the season right? But
I have Remy Matthews as my 4-0 backup.
Yeah, I have Robin Olsen.
The good thing about Remy Matthews, someone posted this on Reddit, Palace.
Price locked,
red flag.
Legend.
Not even in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Just love to see it.
I don't have him. So you just still have him. So you're just set.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. Okay, let's talk more about these like budget guys and stuff like that because we did get questions there.
Okay.
Warren said, "Are we overlooking Leeds attackers? Should Aronson or Rodrigo be in our thoughts over Neto? Much more attacking, pressing side with a healthy Patty B seems to be better than Wolves." Serge G said, "Where do you guys stand on the Bailey pick? I feel like he's great value if he stays fit. I also don't expect him to play 90 minutes without pulling his hammy or something." And then Hemdog said the consensus is that the cool crowd don't like the 8-0 guys anymore. Is taking 2 to 3 players from the Martinelli, Neto, Bailey bracket okay?
Whew, that was a lot.
It's a lot, dude. I mean, Leeds are maybe easy. Well, they're not easy to start with, but it's more focused than the other questions. But it's like, I've been saying it for fucking 3 weeks now that there's gonna be a valuable Leeds pick because they're priced like they're fucking Nottingham Forest, and they're got usually a much better attack than that, or we expect a much better attack than that. Which one? I don't know. I mean, Marsh like is obsessed with Rodrigo, and he's just donging for fun every game, and he's starting at the number 10, or not even number 10, like 9.5, like off striker. That's good. Aronson being 5-5 on set pieces, looking good. I mean, he's just a pressing monster. I don't know. He doesn't really have any goals in him, I don't think so.
That's the thing with Aronson. I don't like that. Like FPL pick wise, I don't like. Is he going to get enough returns? I don't
think
know.
So. I don't think so. So I don't really like that from an FPL perspective. And so I think if you were going to pick one, I think it's clearly Rodrigo, and they have the fixtures to go for it.
I'm like so traumatized by Rodrigo.
I know, but all
like he's just like not starting
somewhere
early,
deep down.
Like,
I love him.
I mean, I absolutely I do.
And Marsh is obsessed with him. I think it's like matters a lot. I feel like Bielsa never really trusted him or liked him, and Bielsa would sub him in and then sub him back out. As of now, I mean, I think he's pretty clearly first choice behind Bamford. Even in his fucking bad Bielsa seasons, he scores 7 goals in 1,200 minutes and 6 goals in 2,200 minutes. He could score 10 goals this year, no question.
Yeah, for sure.
They have a really good run. Like, I think it's absolutely in the same ballpark as the Netos, the Baileys, whatever. Of like, he could just like be a fucking cheat code.
God, I can't believe I'm like actually thinking about Rodrigo again. I didn't think I would enter this phase of Tinker season.
I mean, people who are newer to the game than we are, like, don't know, but like this is what it used to always be like. There used to be like 10 really sexy, cool 5-5s, and pretty much all of them ended up being bad, except like
Dude,
Mahrez.
are you not starting with Gaston Ramirez? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. And then, there's the one Mahrez year, and then for the next 10 years, everyone's like, well, who's the Mahrez this year? Well, it's probably fucking no one.
Because we're still citing a player from 7 years ago.
2014 season or some shit. But I think Rodrigo's a totally reasonable punt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, you made a good case there for sure. $6 million. It's just, I think it's more looking at him in that bracket. I mean, Martinelli. Like, are you taking Rodrigo over Martinelli?
Probably not, but are you taking, what do you think about Rodrigo versus Neto? I think is a conversation, right? Because I expect Leeds to be a much better attack.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
I think Rodrigo is a similar quality player to Neto, but I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I have to think
That's
about that.
hard.
Yeah, that's tough.
The beer is in his hand, folks. The beer, I'm getting him going, baby.
Well, Rodrigo's, you're touching on the sensitive spot for me right now with Rodrigo. Yeah. What are the other questions? I don't want to keep talking about this.
Bailey. Where are you on Bailey? Leon.
He's just a great pick, I think. I mean, he's $5 million. It's a good couple of fixtures to open up with, and they spent a lot of money on him, and he was very highly regarded coming over from Leverkusen, and clearly he's playing himself into the 11 with all the good things you want to see. Settled preseason, fit, had some time off, wants to shake it last year behind. I mean, he's like saying all the right things, walking the walk, talking the talk. Buendia's been like a misfit at Villa for a while. Who knows what's going on there, but we're still concerned about Bailey, like, not starting every game, getting subbed early. If like he makes the first attacking sub, it like could be him because he's just like little and winger, and he has all these options at his disposal. But he's just fucking he's $5 million. Like he's the same price as Oriol Romeu. I mean,
why is he 5?
I don't know.
It's such a mispricing. It's insane.
He's like Bournemouth, Everton, Palace, first 3. Like. You can't really like go that wrong, right? I mean, he's $5 million. Like he could blank those 3 game weeks. You're like, whatever, you move on with your life. Or he just like does good things. And you're like, wow, this is a great pick, and I could just maybe hide him on my bench or put him on my whatever before game week 4 where they have a really bad run. I mean, the really bad run is concerning because you can't look at this spot as like, okay, I'm going to just like, hopefully Bailey works out and I can start him for a while. It's like after the first 3 game weeks, like it's a big problem because even if he's still starting at home, West Ham, at Arsenal, home City, like 4, 5, 6, just like Villa attack like bad.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, right, there isn't a lot of flexibility of like, well, where do you go from here? Like Romeu?
Yeah, actually. Like,
so
you're
you
just
have to double
Nico
swap
those
it.
game weeks?
Yeah. The one thing though I will say that makes this a little bit interesting depending on how you spread your team around. Andreas Pereira at Fulham, like Harry Wilson's hurt now, and he might just be playing as like the 10. Like he's like the only other attacker in the team with Mitrovic. Yeah. So he might just not be doing any 6-8 things. He might just be an attacker. Yeah. So you could look at it in that way where you're saying like, okay, well, worst case, I put Andreas Holgebaum Pereira out there for a little while, and I make do.
Holgebaum, I've never seen that.
He's the Holgebaum.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's my thing there. What are you thinking over there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the main thing that's changed in this price bracket is that 2 weeks ago-ish, Neto sort of seemed like the only guy, and that's why he was like 25% owned. And now I think there's like 3 or 4 guys in and around there competing for like who you're going to start with. Hebdog's question was, is taking 2 to 3 players from that bracket okay? And I don't think that's okay, because that's just setting yourself up for like kind of a disaster.
I think it's totally fine because of the wild cards. Like I think if you wild card game week 4, that's fine. Like that's just fine. That's a risk you take because the alternate cases, what that's affording you and the rest of your team is getting you by, and there are so many options that, I got the wrong 5-5. I'm just going to do Neto to Rodrigo, or I got the wrong 6. I'm doing Martinelli to Wissa or whatever the fuck. Like, I mean, there are like 7 guys there, and you need like 2 or 3 to hit. Like I could see that.
I mean, I guess the early wild card does make it more okay. In a normal season, I would say
still there.
Yeah, in a normal season, I'd say absolutely not okay.
Right.
Like you're just setting yourself up for a complete disaster. Yes. Early wild card, fucking pigeonhole, But
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, this season it might actually be okay, and if that affords you like Son over Mount.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
3 premiums or whatever, if you like the way it looks.
Those guys, yeah, I mean, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily do, the 5 midfield or whatever. If you have 3 of those guys, Son, Mo, Holland, you could make that team.
Yeah, I think you could absolutely make that team without even sacrificing that much in defense.
Yeah, you do 3-5-2 probably with like Trent Cancelo and some guy.
Trent Cancelo, Reese, Nico Patterson probably.
Yeah.
Then you go like Mo, Son, 3 of these guys, and then
Jesus, Holland. Yeah, I'm sure that's a team. That's probably 100 million. Seems
affordable good. And really good. Yeah. Yep. Wow, that's a fun fucking team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun until you have to wildcard in game week 3, but it's fun right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's very attractive to me. Yeah. I'm very into it. These are some other questions just on like sort of this season before just a bunch of random million other rando questions. So we have a lot more work to do, and we're already an hour in, so good job by us. Andy Alton, have you guys already talked about how 5 subs will affect things if you're factoring into decisions? If so, disregard. If not, please give your thoughts. Valtteri said, if you'd be planning for an early wild card, like 3 or 4, who do you like for the opening fixtures that you would not be on otherwise? So maybe that's like a Bailey thing, maybe.
Yeah.
And Liam said, are either of you planning to approach the game differently this year? It can be in terms of how much content you consume or strategy in general. And he's muting everyone on Twitter basically, which is, I think, a good job by him. But yeah, the 5 subs, we did talk about it on like the opening pod, but we haven't really mentioned it again since. I mean, is it in your thoughts at all?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be more sub cameos, right? It's just less like the players we have, like unless they get COVID or they get injured, like I expect them to just at least play a few minutes because, with 5 subs, like why wouldn't they? We're picking players in our teams who are like the best players on the team. In their team, right? So if they're not starting, they're just like probably going to come on off the bench. And I'm just like operating under that assumption. But I mean, COVID still exists. Like people get COVID and can't go play games and shit. Like can't go into society. So, it's not to say like have no bench, but at the same time, that's not even possible. Like,
it's not even possible because Pereira and Nico and Patterson and whatever exists. Yeah.
So you're sorted there.
And you have to start a forward, so you can't even have 3, 4, 5 forwards.
Yeah.
What
about? Is that sort of similar?
Yeah. Same here. It's just like less bench, less money on the bench than ever is a good thing this year. The early wildcard thing, I mean, to be honest, I haven't thought about that at all. I've been more thinking like a mid-ish wildcard, like 6, 7, 8-ish.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but you just hyper focus the fixtures is really the bottom line. Just forget about 4, 5, 6 and just really hammer down those first few and just go from there. And then Villa's a good example, I think.
Yeah, Villa's good. I think the kind of trickiest one there is that City or Spurs and Chelsea playing each other in game week 2 is kind of tough. Like if you're really looking for those first 3, like do you like avoid those players?
That's bad.
Do you try and not expose yourself too much because that fixture's tough for both sides? I'm not sure, but it also goes back to what we've been talking about. Like the best teams have the best fixtures, so planning for the early wild card isn't like that. Seems like it's like not a good season to do that because all the bad teams are like they have bad. I don't know.
I mean, I might make the team that we just talked about if I was planning on an early wild card, right? I pick the premium team with 3 5-5 midfielders in there or whatever who all have good fixtures, like i.e. Villa, Leeds, Wolves, and then go from there.
Like Rodrigo, Martinelli,
Neto, and Bailey or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, probably that sounds good.
Yeah. Liam's question: any difference in the game for you this season?
No, I mean content. I don't consume any content. I mean, I'm on the Discord all the time, so like I'm seeing all the like rate my teams like passively. Sometimes I chat, and sometimes I don't. So like I'm plugged into like what's going on that way. But no, I don't like enjoy FPL content, so I don't do that. And then in terms of playing the team, I mean, I think, if I wasn't trying to like do well, my draft right now would have like 6 different players in it than it currently has.
That scares me.
Yeah, but I'm trying to just like play the game and just like at least right now and see what happens, see if it works and if it's fun. But, I'm open to other ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
I mean, the big change for me so far from a preseason perspective is just like going on other pods, doing more firesides. So I feel more sort of like getting more input than just me mad scientisting by myself at 5 a.m, which is like usually the only input that I have. Maybe an occasional Walsh, but like it's pretty much just me fucking freaking out.
Well, now you have your notebooks.
Yeah, and then I made the notebooks. They sold out today, so thank you everyone for who bought one. And I'll try and just, basically the whole point of the notebook is I wrote in the description like be reflective instead of reflexive, and like just being able to like check myself basically and be like, when I come on the pod in game week 5 and I'm like, I fucking knew this guy was going to score. Well, I didn't. Because in my notes I did not even talk about him for the first 4 game weeks.
I didn't even write Junior Stanislas in my
I didn't
notebook.
even consider him.
Yeah.
So check myself. So that's one difference, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how I do with that. Okay, are you ready to just go? Just go.
How
for
much
it?
more do we have here?
Many.
Okay. I might need another beer, but let's. Yeah,
you might need another beer. I might need a pee. We'll see what happens here. Let me jump around. Matt said, "What information, stats, metrics are your favorite to look at when you're picking a game week 1 team?"
I don't use any, so none.
Yeah, I mean, the usual for me: XG, XA, minutes, shots. For preseason, it's hard to get XG, but they do exist for the game, so use that if you have them. But
ICT.
Yeah, ICT. And highlights are nice, when you're looking at an individual, right? Like being able to go to something like a Y Scout and be like, I want to see all of Leon Bailey's shots in the Ren game. Like that's cool, but other than that, there's not that many. Frankenstein said, you guys have touched on this concept in the past that the best teams don't necessarily have to spend all of their budget. Would now be a good time to revisit this concept, or is this more for around the first wild card when some of the key enablers are discovered?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is probably what he said when, first wild card is probably the better time to do that when we know so-and-so is 5 and he's a good pick. We know this 4-0 is a really good pick. We know this 5-0 is a really good pick, and it allows us more budget. And that tends to be, I think, when we reach, right? When we have 9 free and we just sort the mids by price, and we're like, I guess I'll just get this 9 instead of being like, no, this 7-5 is better.
And that's what I think makes this exercise a little bit like ridiculous, because there's always going to be an outlier in that way. Like, because you're looking at the small little sample size of like small point, whatever. Like Bowen at 6'5" is still going to outscore like every premium asset in the game.
Right.
Like there's always going to be a player like that. So that's like a little bit tough.
Yeah. FPL Mad, what do you think about going with a threemium, not worrying about the price point, since you can get any player by dropping one of them to who doesn't perform in the first couple game weeks? So yeah, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, it just still, I think, comes down to like the security of having like the good defenders who are going to be getting good points to like these punty mids that we've been talking about, right? And I think also like how comfortable you are with just like wildcarding in game week 2 or like wildcarding game week 3. I mean, to me, it comes down to that, but it's still from like a points perspective, like price per million thing. Like if you're spending, 35 million on 3 players, but you're captaining the same one for all 3 of those game weeks, or for like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
So it more, I think, comes back down to that. Like if you're captaining Mo all the time, then you shouldn't have like Haaland and Kane. Like you should have one of them to do like the 1 week or whatever. Like that I think is more like what you should be looking at, right?
Yeah, and I think he's touching on flexibility, which is definitely really important in this game. I've said it before. Flexibility is the key to stability. Just being able to, like, all it means is like you're ready to adapt to whatever changes in the early weeks when a lot changes, and the more flexible you can be, the more quickly and easily you can move on whatever's happening. Whoever's blowing up, Martial's starting the first 2 games and exploding. Okay, I need to get to him. Like the more flexible you are, the easier it is to do everything. But yeah, I don't think you need to go threemium to be flexible. Is this my long answer for that? And there's many ways to be flexible. Leave 0.5 in the bank and just have a normal team. Like do that.
Do yoga.
Yeah, do yoga. Exactly. Yeah. What's the Entourage quote? And it's like the bulk is so 90s, Johnny. It's all about flexibility now, or something like that.
Drama.
Simple Mike said, are there any template or popular picks that you're miles away from considering from game week 1? I feel like I've been trying to convince myself on Neto for 3 weeks. I still can't get past my feelings that he and Wolves are destined to disappoint us all.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Like, no. I think Bruno G is probably the one for me.
Yeah, and even like he's like down the list of like mids. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think with Neto's, and I'm fucking just myself, but if you've watched Neto play and you have that valuation, it's just like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what you're watching. I don't understand how that is. I mean, I get if you don't watch the games as much, you haven't seen him play that much. Like, yeah, sure. But I don't get that personally for Neto.
Yeah, I mean, it's Neto and Perisic for me, and and Mendy. I mean, for now, I mean, like you said, I agree with what you said on Mendy. I could see myself ending up there, but for right now, where I'm at, I'm just like, ugh, Mendy. Like, it feels so bad to me. But Perisic, I think you made a great case for him. I could easily see myself going there. I'm still just like a bit worried. It would be just really cool if like one good thing was said about him, about his fitness and his, whatever. And then Neto, we already talked about him. I don't think I need to say anything else.
Okay. We're going to talk a lot more about him on Wednesday, I can tell.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Eggy Bread said, welcome back, Eggy Bread. He said, thoughts on the hot emerging trend of just one premium. So basically, I guess people are talking about just Mo.
They're getting like a few 8 million mids and shit.
Yeah, just super heavy at the back.
Like a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1 with Jesus or whatever.
Something like that, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
I don't mind it.
I feel like this comes back to like Haaland is owned by half the game. So, you have to be hitting and you're risking it all like to not be hitting. And sure, you could skyrocket, but I don't know if like you want to bet on that. I mean, I'm still worried about doing that when you could just get a really good pick who's just 11-5 and get one budget guy and like kind of fit in with all the guys and fit in with all the cool kids.
His team just has just coincidentally is twice as good as every team with an 8 million mid.
Yeah. So
and they have, again, I've said their fixtures like twice already on the pod, but they have home Bournemouth, at Newcastle, home Palace, home NFO from 2 through 5.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah. I feel like you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit there, but it could work out. It could work out.
It could work out. It's just hard. It's hard to make it work out.
It's hard. It's just, it's hard.
You have to just hit more.
You have to hit everything.
And it gets exponentially harder the more things you stack on top of each other. Right?
Exactly.
So it's just really hard.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sutton said the complete chalk lineup is actually pretty good on paper and affordable. If you pick all the highest owned guys or even playing the game, it feels so boring, but is it actually the most prudent approach to kick off the campaign?
I think we fall into this trap thinking like our game week 1 team is the team that everyone has forever. Like everyone changes their team so much all the time. So, if you sort by ownership and just pick whatever the fuck that 15 is, like your team's great. You have a great team and you're setting yourself up like stable success and you can tweak the edges as you get more information. Like that's, no, you're not playing the game. You're just like auto picking your team, but you just look at it in a different way. The game doesn't start before game week 1. It starts game week 1 afterwards, right?
Exactly what I was going to say. Like you can pick the best fucking game week 1 team imaginable. Like, the future. You pick the best game week 1 team. You're still not going to win FPL. There's still like 100 more moves you have to make before you win FPL and captaincies and transfer, and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just not that big a deal to like go with the chalk, stay with the group, pick the best players who happen to be usually the highest owned and just go from there.
Yeah.
It's just not a big
it's almost
deal.
like you imagine it's like a chessboard. It's like pre-game week 1, it's like, let me like put the pieces in all these different places to like get an advantage versus this approach, which is just like the pieces all go in the same spot. Like I just start with the highest owned players and then I move them around. Like,
Right. That's exactly what it is.
That's fine. That's fine to do.
It's like you have a pretty good chance if you just start with a regular chessboard. Probably better than just like randomly assembling the pieces.
Yeah, because then you might end up with like 18 pawns and you're like, oh shit.
And you're like, fuck, I don't even have a queen. I'm going no mo. Yeah, it's bad. Camia said the meta seemed to move away from the glue guys given the extra World Cup wildcard. Are we falling back into our typical pattern of overlooking these guys, or is this just adapting to this year's game state? Who is the most attractively priced of the glue guys if we are to go there?
So, it's still back to the fixtures on the teams with the glue guys are all bad. Like all of those mid-table to bottom 10 teams with like the Zahas and the JWPs, the fixtures are so bad to begin the season with. So I think that's the adjustment.
Yeah, and well, that exactly goes hand in hand with adjusting to this year's game state. Right. If we didn't have an extra wild card, we wouldn't really give a shit what JWP's fixtures are because we're just going to hold him until we have to emergency wild card later in the season or whatever it is. But that's not the case this year. We don't have to hold any of these guys for that long. We're probably not going to. So, we don't need glue guys right now. We're looking for hauls and trying to pick the guys who are going to explode, and then maybe we'll get glue guys after the first wild card or after the World Cup. That's just one that'll come into play.
Yeah.
Bri asked about Rodrigo. Okay, love that.
What did he say?
He said, when do we believe a Hattie versus a Serie B team, Rodrigo, is good, and when is it not worth considering? It's pretty good.
Bri.
Pretty good. Schmidt said, is 2-4-5 keepers a vintage throwback, like a classic 80s jersey that's fun and feels nice? Or is it a vintage throwback like an R. Kelly album that now just feels wrong and creates bad feelings inside?
It's so funny, like everybody rotated 4-5 keepers for years. And then it just don't do. That's the dumbest thing ever. Never do that.
No one would ever consider it now.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
Like that.
I don't really know what happened.
I mean, it must have just been not optimal. Like the amount of times that would be good versus worse, just having 4-5 and 4-0 with 0.5 elsewhere must have just like come out ahead. But
yeah,
I remember rotating 4-5s and loving it. I loved being able to like, oh, I want them. And now I'm rooting for this team. Now I'm rooting for this team.
Well,
like,
it's also so fun. It's a fun little puzzle in the preseason to be like, oh, I start him there. Like it works out perfectly for the first 11 game weeks I play. Yeah. It's only home and I'm only, but yeah, I think probably what happened is also like the prices broadly have gone up. Like, right.
Yeah.
Only the worst teams except for basically Palace have a 4-5 keeper. Yeah. And then also I think what people began noticing is that the bad teams are way less predictable than the good teams. So like, Meslier having a good home fixture is not as good of a clean sheet indicator as just, a mid-table team, just again in any fixture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian said, will second season syndrome affect Brentford? The Bees are so hard, man.
I think that I still just think they've been doing great business. I'm really not worried about them at all. I think they're just going to solidify themselves around like the 15, 16 place mark and just like be good. They have a really good team now. It's just really good.
Like people shit on analytics and whatever, but like it's not a coincidence, right? Like they're the Liverpool on a small budget team in the league. Like all of their signings are under the radar and just like smart. And they have a huge analytics budget, and it just seems like they're just making like good signings all the time with a good manager. So like,
I mean, especially if they get Damsgaard. If they get Damsgaard and they basically
like
just
15
spent
mil.
Yeah, they just spent like 80 mil or whatever on players, and they just upgraded their squad everywhere. And Hickey's a big deal. Like he's going to make them so much better. Getting Keane Lewis Potter to bring him up, and they're in good shape. I think they're in really good shape. They have all the good center backs. They're going to be good.
The gambling market wise, they're like considered in and around the relegation scrap.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I don't think this squad is a relegation squad.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm the gambling pod that I guessed it on came out, this morning. But yeah, those guys are all like big Brentford believers. They're just like, I just don't see this team in that light at all.
Yeah.
I'm with them. Yeah. They're not like the 18th team to me.
No. 15th.
Yeah. Owen said Newcastle came third in the points total for the second half of the season, mostly without Callum. What are the options from Eddie's team? What about Callum?
Yeah, isn't he still not fit? Is he fit?
I saw Wood take a pen at some point in preseason, right? But I thought Callum was fit. I mean, I'll look, but
I don't know.
He just always dongs when he's fucking fit, right? I mean,
when he plays,
he's a machine.
He does the things, but I mean, they still have a lot of good picks. I mean, Tripp's still a good pick. Botman's still a good pick.
He's fit. He started like 3 days ago.
He's fit. Okay, yeah. So I mean, Callum. I think 7.5 is just a tough bracket to hit, tough price point to hit. When we have like Jesus and the premium and shit, like you're going through up top with those two, it's tough.
Yeah, the one like case for Callum is like you start him for 2 game weeks and then you can downgrade to like almost any forward in the game.
Yeah.
You start him Nottingham Forest and Brighton, and then you just get rid because their next 3 are home City, at Wolves, at Liverpool, home Palace, at West End. It's just a nightmare. You have to get rid, and you just go to whatever forward's popping off.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, honestly, that could be like you have him and Trips just for those first 2, and it's like, okay, I'm going to try to just get those 2 out after the game week 2, right?
Totally reasonable. I still think Newcastle are pretty good, so
yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good picks. I mean, I know Bruno, we've been very back and forth on Bruno about him as a pick, but Almiron's been doing all the things in preseason. Maybe it's the season of Goomba.
I've always loved him.
I think he's just terrible, but I mean, there aren't like a million picks, but there aren't 0.
Yeah, they're mostly in defense. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Trips and Botman, I think, are just both like steady picks that you could just set your clock to.
And as of now, we're not on Pope, but Pope could also just make a mockery of 5-0. Like if Pope just does the Burnley thing and gets 20 plus bonus points, and they keep 10 to 14 or 15 cleans, which is very realistic, I think, for this team. Like, he could just be like a god. He could just be the best keeper in the game, but we don't know yet.
Yeah. Yep. We don't know.
Hemdogs, only a couple more questions. Hemdogs said, can we fast forward back to this time? I think the wording needs to be worked on a little bit there, but can we fast forward back to this time last year when we all started with Bruno at 12 million? Bruno Fernandes.
Rewind, right?
I think he means rewind back to this time last year. Yeah. But he said fast forward back. He just wants to rewind really quickly, and I think he just couldn't get fast out of his head. And then fast forward just came out. But, alas. We all started with Bruno Fernandes at 12 mil because he was on pens and shits points. What's changed? Are we overlooking dear old rat boy? Well, he's probably not on pens, so.
Yeah, and he scored a hat trick in game week 1 last year, so that was a good pick by all of us. But, Man United kind of just falling by the wayside every day, right? With Ron back in the fold.
It's just horrible.
It's just kind of a mess.
It's just so bad. Yeah, I mean, Ron's back. He played like 30 minutes or something. He's probably going to start. Just not.
Yeah, it sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, a lot has changed. To answer his questions, a lot has changed because Ron's still there and Bruno's not going to be on pen. So we'll see. FPL Matt said, who's the best 4-5 defender in the game? 4-5 defender in the game. Arsenal, Man United, Leicester assets come to mind. So fucking Pereira, we shout out Ricky Pereira, and he's fucking seriously injured immediately.
He's such a joke.
So I mean,
I think it makes Justin better.
Yeah, Justin's just a good pick, I think.
Yeah, Justin's a good pick.
If they get rid of Fofana, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know what the fuck is happening over there.
I don't think so. Fofana's going to go anywhere. I mean, I think it makes Castagna a good pick, too, because...
Yeah, you should start.
If either of the fullback is going to stay home a little bit more like Kyle Walker, it's going to be Justin, not Castagna.
Yes, for sure.
So with Pereira out, I think Castagna's interesting. But, no, I mean, there's a lot of, still same, like Botman, Pals, we talked about White, or Saliba or whatever. There are 4 or 5 picks all over the
There's
all
a
over
million.
the show.
Dunk,
Yeah.
just Dunk,
right.
reminding everyone that he's a Dong fest.
West Ham. I mean, their teams. Lamptey's been, I don't know if he's going to be starting. I think Trossard's been playing wing back.
I know. Yeah, it's, I don't know what's up.
But you got options. You got options.
There's so many. Yeah, there's just so many good ones. I think that's basically it. Questions wise. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah, let's call it. And we'll do our teams next episode.
Yeah, so Wednesday we're going to do a deep dive into our teams. Maybe a sneaky little treat for Patreon subscribers on Thursday, TBD. And then, the fucking game starts. So there we are. Let me slap asses. We got a lot of new signups. So thank you for the new Patreon signups. We got Pontus Johansson, we got Ricard Bergeson, Pierre Biquet, Carl Blom, Ben23, SV, Kyle Beer, Robert Collins, Stephen Bickerstaff, Marco Ristic, Chris Mallon, Andy Lum, AR, Alistair Kenny, Luke Sanderson, Serge G, Tyler Bradley, and Nikki Slimmon. Yes, get in there, baby. That's a wrap. Any last words, Walshy?
We'll see you tomorrow, baby.
See you tomorrow. Check us out at FMLfield.com. Follow us on Twitter at FMLfield. Support us at patreon.com/FMLfield. Subscribe, rate, review. Cheers!